covering the world of professional wrestling. This is the Signature Spot with Chris Toplack.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you very much for tuning into the latest episode of the Signature Spot with Chris Toplack. As always, I greatly appreciate your ongoing support, and this will be a special edition of the program today where we will fully cover NXT TakeOver Phoenix and the Royal Rumble. So I believe this weekend is going to be so exciting, so huge, that it warrants the full episode treatment. So that's a full preview for each event along with predictions with my special guest, Kyle Scharf. For new episodes of the program, subscribe on YouTube. That's youtube.com/The Signature Spot. You can also listen to the show wherever podcasts are available. That's iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Spreaker, and podcast apps such as Overcast. And of course, be a part of the conversation. Like The Signature Spot on Facebook. Follow at Chris Toplack on Twitter and also at Chris Toplack on Instagram for nothing to do with professional wrestling, just plenty of posts about food and craft beer and living the hipster dream over here, apparently. So without further ado, this is a full preview of NXT TakeOver Phoenix along with the WWE Royal Rumble.
Our topic of the week.
The road to WrestleMania officially kicks off this weekend. It starts with NXT TakeOver Phoenix, and it carries over with the Royal Rumble. And of course, NXT TakeOver has all the potential to be a show stealer. It takes place this coming Saturday, January the 26th, from the Talking Stick Resort Arena. Is this a rib, by the way? In Phoenix, Arizona. And Kyle, notably missing in action from this card is the Velveteen Dream.
When I was looking at the card, I was thinking that does not seem right in any regard, because that guy, he's, one of the top guys. He should definitely be on there, but maybe they have other plans for him that weekend.
I wonder what else is going on. But here's the tweet from him, Kyle. I found this very intriguing. I know my worth. The past year, I've created a special atmosphere at NXT TakeOver until we can come to an agreement as to what my worth actually is. There won't be any appearances or performances from the Velveteen Dream or my likeness. So I thought that was a great, dry, witty statement that he put out there.
He knows how to work the fans and others in the business like no other. He is on a different level from everyone else in the business. Even he's up there with some of the guys over in AEW and all that. Just he knows how to work everyone.
He does, and I have a funny feeling we will be seeing him later on this weekend. But before we get to that, let's get to this card. There are 5 matches announced. Of course, as we know with most NXT TakeOver events, there will be some surprise appearances as well. So let's kick it off with the very first match. It is Matt Riddle versus Cassius Ohno. And of course, we saw this previously at NXT TakeOver War Games where Riddle landed a quick flying knee to secure the victory in merely 6 seconds. And since that embarrassing loss, Ohno, and rightfully so, has been basically unable to let go of his frustration. So he took them out not only on Riddle, but also on Keith Lee as well, most of them being sneak attacks.
Yeah, it's been an interesting build for this one. There's no way in hell that Riddle doesn't take this, though, right? He's the next guy in NXT, and I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's going to be a little more competitive than that War Games match, but Riddle still takes it pretty easily.
7 seconds this time.
Yeah. Maybe he gets in, a little standing switch or something first.
I do believe it's going to be Matt Riddle as well. It would be a shame if they killed his momentum at this event. I mean, all credit to Ohno for putting him over and showing up. He's a veteran. He's a very underutilized talent. But at the same time, I think him being somewhat of an enhancement talent in that veteran role suits him very well in NXT. I actually don't see him ever going to the main roster.
Yeah, I think he's going to be what they originally wanted Rhino to be when they brought him back. Just kind of like that gateway guy that helps put people over.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're the utility player. I'm sure he'll get compensated well. I know if I were him, I probably wouldn't hate it because at least I know the venue I'm going to constantly at NXT. Of course, they travel with the tour bus. It's not a bad gig at all.
No, and yeah, not a bad gig. I would happily take it.
Well, there you go. I'll sign you up next week. And so we move on. NXT Tag Team Championships. It is the Undisputed Era who dominated in 2018, taking on the War Raiders. Kyle, I'm very interested to see how this one plays out.
This could be an under the radar one for match of the night on this card. I'm thinking because neither Bobby Fish or Adam Cole, Bebe, are not anywhere on the card, that there's definitely going to be some interference in this one. And they're probably going to hold off the title switch until the takeover on Mania weekend, just to help build the War Raiders up a little more. And I think that'll be around the time where they are going to kind of make that big decision on, do the Undisputed Era kind of stay down in NXT and continue to run roughshod, or head up to the main roster.
That's a great call, and that's certainly a possible angle. I'm going on the opposite side, where I do believe the War Raiders will become the new NXT Tag Team Champions, and perhaps we'll see all of them, if not a few of them, make their way to the main roster very soon.
Oh, it's a great weekend for it to happen, so definitely a possibility.
It is the weekend for it to happen. And of course, we go from that to, in my opinion, you can bet your bottom dollar on the fact that this will be the show stealer. Who is the real Mr. Takeover? For the NXT North American Championship, it is Ricochet, the man who defies gravity, taking on Johnny Wrestling, Mr. Johnny Gargano.
Match of the night, no doubt in my mind. As great as the main event has the potential to be, this one just has even more. I'm going to say, depending on how much time they're given, of course, but the way that they've kind of expanded the takeover time frame, I'm going to give it at least 20, 25 minutes, and they're going to put on a clinic. This one, my prediction kind of has to do with my prediction for the main event, but I foresee, I won't go into that until the main event we get there, but sure. I'm going to say Johnny Takeover.
Really? Interesting. So I believe is going to be Ricochet. Now, before I go into that, I do want to obviously clarify here. I mean, Johnny Gargano has, of course, all of the credentials to win, but I do like the fact that he might be that guy that gets so very close, but not close enough, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, so to speak, right? And I think he's not going to win it, and Ricochet will retain his North American Championship. It will be a modern-day classic, though. I will tell you that much.
Definitely. This is probably going to be match of the weekend.
NXT Women's Championship. You have Shayna Baszler taking on Bianca Belair. Now, Belair earned this opportunity after getting her arm raised. It was a fatal four-way number one contenders match. And, of course, she has remained undefeated, if you want to clap along to that as well, too, since debuting in NXT. But she's never faced anyone like the submission magician Shayna Baszler, an expert grappler capable of submitting her opponents in the blink of an eye and the snap of a finger. I will tell you this much. I love Bianca Belair. I think this could be too much too soon in terms of giving her that championship. I say that Shayna Baszler retains.
I agree with you on that one. Bianca is definitely going to be the next big star in the women's division in NXT, but she's not quite there yet, but so damned close. I'm going to... Yeah,
I was going to say she wavered a little bit when I was watching, not this edition of NXT TakeOver, but the one last week where you had Shayna and Marina and Jessamine in the ring. She seemed a little lost for a few seconds there. I saw that, and I saw a little bit of that greenness just seeping through, just a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes you can't hide the greenness, and like you said, a little too much too soon. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of this one has to do with if Shayna and the Horsewomen are going to get called up to the main roster to help pad out the new women's tag division,
yes,
as well as give Ronda some backup against the man. But overall, I'm going to say Shayna's retaining.
I think they're going to save that for WrestleMania. That's what I envision, that there will be a big brawl between the four horsewomen and also the other four horsewomen. So the four horsewomen of MMA and wrestling, I think they're going to save that for WrestleMania because it will be a special moment. And I do believe that while Marina and Jessamine have a lot of potential, they're still leagues away from holding gold, that I would keep them very far away from that main roster until I see them develop and really grab onto the business, especially on live television as well, or even tape television.
Definitely. Like Shayna and Ronda are different. They're more developed. They have that
students of the
star
game,
quality.
right?
Exactly.
Especially Shayna. Shayna is almost so much of a traditional heel, it bugs me a little bit. And this is like a good criticism because she's such a traditional heel that I feel as though she studies all the tapes, she comes out, and she does it by the book. But that's one of my only criticisms is that she does it by the book. And for me, I want to see her find her own voice. I mean, you hear about how Eddie Gilbert tried to imitate Jerry Lawler constantly. And I kind of see that with Shayna Baszler trying to imitate all of the greats before her. And I would rather see Shayna just be the best version of herself.
Yeah, take what you find from those tapes and then develop it and mold it into your own image.
Exactly. And that time will come, certainly with comfort in time and experience. For the NXT Championship, it is Tommaso Ciampa taking on Aleister Black. And as for the winner of this match, who do you have?
Well, as I mentioned, I have this little theory on what could potentially happen after this. After some chicanery involving Johnny Wrestling, I'm going to say Ciampa retains. Mm-hmm. And then we get basically Ciampa and Gargano, an evil version of DIY, as a modern-day NXT two-man power trip, holding all the gold. And then you get Aleister Black and Ricochet kind of coming together as almost like the Jericho and Benoit going up against them leading into WrestleMania TakeOver weekend.
I don't recognize that latter name, by the way.
It has been stricken from the books. I don't know why. Sorry, I should have said Jericho and redacted.
Jericho and vacant. I understand there, the placeholder. But that's a great angle that you just proposed. I think it's one that would be fresh and something completely new for NXT. I'm totally in favor of that. I do see it going a little bit differently where Ciampa's going to win and move on to a completely different feud, which I'm also in favor of too.
Yeah, if he retains and moves on to a different feud, it has to be the Dream again if Dream doesn't ascend to the main roster, I would say.
And, of course, Aleister Black, that leaves him available potentially in that scenario for this coming Sunday, which moves us to the Royal Rumble. The 2019 Royal Rumble takes place this coming Sunday. That's January the 27th from Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona. It is the home of the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm very intrigued to see the setting, the stage, all of that in a baseball diamond. This is going to be very different. 40,000 are supposed to be there, too.
It's going to remind me a lot of WrestleMania 19 when it was at Safeco Field.
Safeco Field. That's what I was thinking about, too. And that was one of my all-time favorite WrestleManias, as you know.
Yeah, it's probably my number 2 behind, obviously, 17.
I probably, and this is going a little bit in a different direction, but I always said to me it was 17, it was 19, and it was 31 for me.
I put 31 up there. I also have kind of a special spot for 30, just because of, what happened there. We like to not talk about the end of something that happened there.
the end of the streak and the end of your childhood officially. So we have 9 matches announced for the Royal Rumble. I think, personally, it's a little bit of overkill here. I mean, you have both Royal Rumble matches that will last roughly about an hour apiece when all is said and done. And then you have 7 additional matches. Again, I think it's overkill and they've gone too far here, Kyle.
Well, with the kickoff show starting at 5 o'clock, probably is it going to be 5 or do they?
I think it might be 6. I'm going to basically prepare myself for 5 o'clock at this point and just strap myself in all weekend. But nevertheless, I feel as though it's just way too much for this coming Sunday.
There's going to be some matches where you're going to see, like if you're watching it in a group, people just totally phase out for a match or two, like. Someone like me, I'll go for a smoke, go to the washroom, whatever. But there's going to be a lot of people that it's hard to maintain, watching something for 7-8 hours.
It's true.
Like that's a day at work.
It is.
That's a lot. And I think I see what they're doing, trying to do as much as possible so you get the most bang for your buck with the WWE Network.
$9.99.
But on $9.99, absolutely. Well, there's rumors, right, that it's going up. but I think that they need to condense everything except WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. I would definitely agree with you, is that I understand the bang for your buck. And of course, they're saying, we're going to give you everything. You're not going to complain, everything but the kitchen sink. But at the same time, to keep a viewer or viewers captivated for, roughly 6-7 hours, that's a long time, especially if the pacing and the structure of the show just is not, completely in place.
Yeah, it has to be perfect if you want everyone to be in place for everything, and that's damn near impossible.
It is, but let's kick off with the card. So the Fatal 4-Way, it's Buddy Murphy versus Kalisto versus Akira Tozawa versus Hideo Utami, and that is for the Cruiserweight Championship. What happens here?
Well, we've been talking about potential show stealers. I think this one has a lot of potential for that. The Cruiserweight division's become the little train that could, now that, ever since Triple H got took over it again. And this match is absolutely loaded with talent and Kalisto on as well.
Yeah.
So Buddy has been doing great as champ. So unless they're going to pull the trigger on making like Hideo Itami actually mean something after all the hubbub years ago when they signed him, I don't see a title change.
I don't either, for the pure fact that I just don't see it occurring in a Fatal 4-Way. I think it's almost too obvious, and of course they'll play that angle of you don't have to pin the champion to win the match and to be the Cruiserweight champion. I do believe Buddy Murphy will inevitably lose, but it's probably going to happen WrestleMania weekend. That seems to be the case, so my prediction is that Buddy Murphy retains his Cruiserweight championship.
He's got a 25% chance of winning and a 33%.
Okay,
Steiner math.
Scott Steiner, please get off the microphone and let Kyle back on. For the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, you have The Bar versus almost like this new bromance of Shane McMahon and The Miz, who had a pretty rough Tuesday, didn't they?
Oh, that was a little rough, absolutely. When they dropped Shane on The Miz, all I was having was flashbacks to the TLC match when Becky came down on Charlotte. Obviously not nearly as bad as that, but...
And Charlotte with that audible, oh! It was like,
oh, God.
You could just feel it in your gut, couldn't you?
Oh, it hurt. It hurt. But there's absolutely no way that this doesn't end with The Miz turning on Shane, right?
Wow, you think that, for real?
They're leading towards it, and I'd rather them not drag it out. Get it done. Like, he could turn on Shane for not believing in him at first and for taking his best in the world trophy and build towards a match at either, if they want to hold it off till Mania, they could probably pull that off, or Elimination Chamber or Fastlane.
Sure. So you think he's going to play with fire, take a chance against the McMahon, who will come back very vengeful?
Yeah, do the big hot tag, finally get the hot tag, and then do the Ric Flair to Sting, sucker punch and walk out afterwards and, leave him to the wolves that are The Bar.
There you go. So I'm going opposite here. I think Shane and Miz are going to win the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. They're going to stretch this out a little bit further, and then inevitably we will see that turn. It might even be Shane on Miz, though. You never know.
Possibly, but I feel the one thing I would have an issue with that, like if they want to do it, fantastic. But The Bar seemed like they finally just got their groove again on SmackDown.
They did. Stella got her groove back.
Yes, absolutely. So it would be kind of disheartening to see them lose the strap, especially to a makeshift team. But,
stranger things have happened, right?
They could just go out on Tuesday night and have another clinic with the Usos or the New Day.
Maybe it's time to mix it up, right?
Very true.
I'm not saying I want that outcome to occur, but I'm all for mixing it up and seeing what sticks. The United States Championship is on the line. It is Rusev taking on Shinsuke Nakamura. To me, I think this feels like a no-brainer outcome.
I think this could be a under-the-radar surprise.
Really?
When they want to, both Rusev and Nakamura can put on great performances, and while the build's been very lackluster, if they get the time and don't involve Lana in the finish, which I have a feeling they're going to, this could be great.
Lana is the best. Lana number one, by the way. Let's just.
Yes. I'm going to say that Sunday will be another happy Rusev Day, though.
Yes, it is Rusev Day. And let me just say for the record, I miss Aiden English. I miss the pairing. I miss the pomp and circumstance. I miss the new announcer. It's just not working for me without that relationship, that partnership there.
That little bromance, just
Yes.
like Shane and Miz. But I believe Aiden English just started as color commentator on 205 Live this week. I haven't watched this episode this week, but
Really?
I read that on, I think it was on like WrestleZone or one of those. So I can't comment on how he did, but I imagine he would do great. He's very good,
Quick-witted.
speaking.
Yeah. So I think he would do pretty well too.
And I think he's like another under the radar great performer all around. Like, he's good in the ring. He's not great. He's not Daniel Bryan or anything, but it's a little disheartening. And he's Eddie Guerrero's son-in-law.
Which is amazing. So obviously that's why Sasha and him are so close, right?
I would imagine.
For the SmackDown Women's Championship, it is the Empress of Today. Let's just say that because that's the fact. Versus Becky Lynch, the man, for the SmackDown Women's Championship, as I noted. So, of course, Becky earned this opportunity after she defeated Charlotte Flair and Carmella, and that was on the January 8th edition of SmackDown. I mean, obviously the outcome of this impacts the Royal Rumble, impacts WrestleMania, so on and so forth.
It's perhaps the most interesting match on the card because of how many different facets it affects. We all know Becky and Ronda is the money match at Mania. So the question is, do they do title versus title or have Becky chasing Ronda? I'm going to say the Raw women's title match goes on earlier. And then before this match, Becky cuts a mean promo about Ronda and her performance. Maybe Sasha, takes her to the tool shed like Charlotte did. And that'll lead to Ronda getting involved again, not being able to hold her temper, and once again costing Becky the title. That frees Asuka up for her Mania title match against the winner of the Women's Rumble.
Great point there. So I'm not going to dive too far into it because I could spoil some of my predictions here, but I say Asuka retains, Becky Lynch enters the Royal Rumble. But I'm not going to say what happens after that, though, quite yet.
We'll get there.
Yes, we will. Now, a very intriguing one here. WWE Universal Championship. It is the Beast versus the Demon. It's Brock Lesnar versus Finn Balor. I really feel that WWE has recently done a great job of building up Finn Balor as this underdog, but a viable one, though, that the fans are truly behind.
Definitely. Balor's one of the most likable guys on the entire roster.
Both in and out of the ring.
Yes, absolutely. The word is we're not getting the Demon, which I think is going to disappoint a lot of people. I think he did an interview where he said that Brock Lesnar is going to be in the ring against Finn Balor, the man, like confirming he's not doing the Demon. But Brock apparently handpicked Finn for this match.
Really?
Which
I did not know that. That's quite intriguing to me.
I don't know if it was Brock or Heyman.
Maybe a combination of both, but we know that Paul Heyman always has his finger on the pulse, right?
And Heyman is a certifiable genius. I'll argue that any day of the week. You know how I feel about him.
Testify, my brother.
So I'm going to say it sounds like Brock's coming with his working boots on, and we're going to get another great match a la the Styles, Brock, and Daniel Bryan, Brock matches.
Both great matches, by the way. I told you, I stated on my year-end show just about a month ago here that Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan was one of my favorite matches of 2018. It was awesome. I loved the story. It was so good.
I think that Brock kind of came and said to Daniel Bryan, you know how to tell the story. I'm going to let you do that, and I'll just work with you. And it turned out fantastic.
And it was great because Daniel Bryan, such a mind for the business, such impeccable psychology, said, well, it's got to be believable, so you have to destroy me. But somehow I come back, I get lucky, but then I start working this submission clinic on you, and people are starting to believe, we're starting to build to a crescendo that I could make you tap out.
Yeah, just when you think he's going to tap, boom, F5, Brock escapes the match, not, comes in and dominates as he usually does. That said, I have a weird feeling that we're going to see Braun Strowman during this match somehow, which sucks because I'd much rather it be a whole clean match.
Me too.
But all in all, the F5 is still going to be the end.
There you go. So you're saying Brock Lesnar retains. I've heard many say that this would be a great time to have the title change, but we know it's not happening at the Royal Rumble. Brock Lesnar will retain, and that moment will occur at WrestleMania. And I hope for a hell of a match. Now we go.
I've heard the rumor, that if the Cormier fight happens in UFC, that Cormier wants him to put the Universal title on the line too, which is just ridiculous.
No, it would be.
But could be a lot of fun if they did it right.
That's how you take a legitimate sport and you make it look silly. And to be honest, you know that I grew up being a massive UFC fan and MMA fan for that matter, and encyclopedia, as you know. But that would really take a legitimate sport, and that's already getting a little too gimmicky as it is right now, and just saying, okay, now we don't even know if this is a shoot or a work anymore.
Wrestling's real, UFC's a work.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop you from crying. It's still real to me, damn it. WWE Championship is Daniel Bryan, the new Daniel Bryan, I should mention, versus the phenomenal one AJ Styles. And oddly enough, I find this very strange and also maybe good for AJ, but since making arguably the biggest and most impactful Royal Rumble debut back in 2016, AJ Styles hasn't found himself in the match for 3 straight years. Now, mind you, each match has been contested for the WWE Championship, so not a bad consolation prize there, right?
Certainly not. I'm going to say there's no way Styles wins here. This point, he doesn't really need the strap. He's become so established by both of his runs, especially the last one, that he doesn't really need the strap. And Daniel Bryan's heel run has been so magnificent. That promo that he cut on Vince on Tuesday, perfection, beautiful. So they got to keep that going. Where AJ goes from here,
don't know.
That's the money question, but I don't see him walking out of the Rumble with the strap.
May I propose a scenario for you? Daniel
Certainly.
Bryan versus AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe at WrestleMania. What if that happens?
Sweet Jesus. It's like take that Unbreakable 2005 match, but we're putting Daniel Bryan in place of Christopher Daniels.
And some would say that that's an upgrade from a match that I consider one of the best of the past 20 years.
I would say probably the best triple threat match,
yes,
at the very least, of all time. And that, oh, Jesus, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so I do believe as well that Daniel Bryan will retain and that it could be a scenario, mind you, a little bit of wishful thinking behind it, at WrestleMania. So we move ahead, Kyle, to the Raw Women's Championship. It is Ronda Rousey, the baddest woman on the planet, taking on the boss, Sasha Banks. She referred to it on SmackDown. I can say it on the show. And since debuting at WrestleMania 34, Ronda Rousey has achieved arguably the greatest rookie year in pro wrestling history. I don't think there's a doubt about that.
Yeah, the only one that would be up there would be Brock's.
It'd be Brock, or, obviously, in terms of like how quickly they caught on, Kurt Angle as well, right?
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
But Ronda Rousey has remained undefeated, not to steal a line, of course, from Bianca Belair. But now the boss, to me, could be a legitimate threat here. Now, the only problem that I have, Kyle, is the fact that this feud has been great, and it is rushed, and it bothers me.
I feel the boss deserves better than a rushed feud. That said, they're both working the social media side to try and get things up to speed. I'm saying Sasha's going to make Ronda look better than anyone has other than Charlotte back at Survivor Series. Mm-hmm. But we all know Ronda's staying undefeated till Mania. But here's a twist.
Oh, what a twist.
What a twist.
M. Night Shyamalan over there. I see what you're concocting. What's going on?
Ronda has been feuding with the horsewoman of NXT, on and off. Becky, Charlotte, now Sasha.
Uh-huh.
We haven't included Bayley, but Bayley usually gets left behind, unfortunately.
She does.
Why not have the MMA horsewomen get involved and start the build for that eventuality?
I like where you're going with that, and that seems like it could be very realistic. And as you noted, a clash of two very different styles, which will make this a great match. Both very resourceful, inventive with their offensive maneuvers. Ronda Rousey retains. That is completely logical, but you're right. The boss, Sasha Banks, will make her look better than ever before. And of course,
Sasha's,
she stole the show in many cases at the Royal Rumble last year because she lasted so long.
absolutely. And I just fear that Sasha is going to kill herself on one of these dives like she always does in the big matches. So I fear for that. But definitely there's clashing styles. I think Sasha has a great grasp on storytelling.
She does.
So that's like you look back at her matches with Bayley and NXT, some of the most emotional, best matches probably the last 5 years. And I think she's really going to make Ronda work for it.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Some very emotional matches. And I think Sasha does a great job and a perfect example of somebody who somehow does mimic her heroes, the Eddie Guerreros of the world and many others, and still makes it into her own different style in this unique presentation of the boss, Sasha Banks.
Yeah, she's definitely found her footing and knows she might be under the radar. Like everyone, when you talk about the best women in WWE currently, it's always Asuka, Charlotte, Becky, Ronda. Sasha always gets left out. And I think that has gotten to her a little bit. Like when you see some of her social media posts and the way she sometimes will lash out. And that's going to all come out here, I think.
I think she needs her stone cold moment. I think she needs to just go out there, lay it on the line, either as a performer or in the ring with a microphone in her hand, and just say, you want to see the best? I've been here, busting my tail off. You'll see the best now. But now you're really going to see the boss.
Yeah, just like Becky had that moment. Now let's get Sasha to that level.
And I think she'll eventually get there. So Ronda Rousey retains. We both agree. We move on.
Yes.
And the only reason why I don't want criticism for this, because the women main evented last year. I think it's nice if they switch it up this year personally. I think
would
it's
agree.
I think it's going to be the women's Royal Rumble match. Of course, 30 women will enter, with the winner earning a women's championship match at WrestleMania 35. I'm going to go over the confirmed names. We have them from both Raw and SmackDown and some free agents. 23 have been confirmed, and that's as of today. So from Raw, we have Ember Moon, Natalya, Bayley. You have the Riot Squad of Ruby, Liv, and Sarah. You have Alicia Fox, Mickie James, Tamina, Dana Brooke, somehow, Nia Jax, and Alexa Bliss, of course, who made their announcement. Now, on the flip side for SmackDown, you have Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Selena Vega, Naomi, Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, Charlotte Flair, Lana, and of course, Carmella, who will enter at number 30, of course, having won the Mixed Match Challenge. Now, we're not done yet, though. We have Nikki Cross and Lacey Evans, who technically are kind of free agents at the moment.
Yeah, it's weird how they're doing those NXT call-ups, but I think it's a good way to get them seen on both shows, because if you're a person who started tuning out from Raw because of that horrific run they had late last year and only watched SmackDown, if those people were only coming up on Raw, you'd be missing out on some great stars like EC3, Nikki Cross,
Yes.
Heavy Machinery. So
Dozefek. He is the WWE's Chris Farley, basically.
I love him. He reminds me a little bit of me, being a bigger guy and just getting jacked and into something. It's great. I could not love him anymore, I don't think. And that
Your hero.
the Chris Farley comparison, beautiful. But
I think I was the first one to really coin that the first time I saw him. I was saying, he's like NXT's version of Chris Farley. He is. If Chris Farley was reincarnated as a wrestler, it's Otis Dozefek.
I love him. I totally forgot where I was going before the roar.
But I do think he's going to be around on Royal Rumble weekend, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like how they're bringing them both up, or bringing them all up on both shows to give them maximum exposure.
So, with the women's Royal Rumble, tell me, we have 23 confirmed. share some surprises with me. There might be some that are going to, blow my mind, and some that I believe that could be predictable. But still, those surprises, we're going to be anxiously awaiting for that music to hit and for us to just pop, right?
We're going to see Trish. We're going to see Lita. Alundra Blaze,
You think?
maybe. Those are like the three surprise names that immediately pop to mind. Maybe Molly Holly.
What
I'd
about
love to see her.
Melina? I've heard her name thrown around in the mix.
Melina, really?
Is she in good standing with the WWE? Nobody knows, though.
Yeah, that it's kind of like how I don't know if you saw the Carlito post about him being in the Rumble, and he's like, they won't even throw me on the alumni page, and so I'm not going to be there.
But he's on Edge and Christian's show, though, on the network, so at least it's a step in the right direction.
True, too. And by the way, his appearance on there was magnificent.
Brian Gerwitz? I don't know how to say his name.
Oh, Jesus. I don't even, like, you listen to the Bruce Pritchard show, and he doesn't even know how to pronounce it half the time. But I'm going to say Molly Holly because I want to see her appear here in build of her Hall of Fame induction.
You think she's going to get there?
If they don't do China this year, which I think they might, it's going to either be China or Molly Holly.
I think those are some suitable choices. I mean, another one you could throw to the mix would be a Victoria, of course, as well.
Yeah, Victoria would definitely be my third pick on there.
So I'm going to throw some surprises that you may have missed. Toni Storm or Rhea Ripley or both. I mean, that would be fantastic. I think Toni Storm, based on the fact that she just had such a great 2018, would be a logical choice to showcase her in this match.
Definitely her being the Mae Young Classic winner, just winning the NXT UK Women's title, gives that brand a little exposure. Great call. I didn't even think of that one.
What about Io Shirai? That's the name I'm throwing out there.
I could see Io
or Kairi Sane.
Or Kairi Sane.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, one of those two could definitely see in there. I'm trying to think of like some other NXT women that could pop up. Like we know Lacey Evans and Nikki Cross.
I don't think we're going to see like a Bianca Belair, but here's another one, Shayna Baszler. I think she could be in this match.
If any of the horsewomen was going to come up, it would definitely be Shayna.
And then, of course, you have the Trish and the Litas of the world. So, but of course, another one that might or may not be a surprise is Becky Lynch. I think she's going to, of course, enter this Rumble.
Yep, like you said earlier, if she doesn't win the strap, I could see her doing the Mick Foley thing at the 2004 Rumble when he took Test out, and Austin was like, "Well, shit, you took him out. You take his place," and so she could take somebody like an Alicia Fox out.
Sure. I think that's a very plausible scenario. I was running through that similar scenario in my head that she takes somebody out. I don't think it's going to be like Carmella at 30, but that could actually be an appropriate one as well.
Because then you can build the Carmella Becky match for Elimination Chamber or Fastlane.
Sure. So who's the final four for you?
Barring the thought. Actually, no, I got one here. I was looking at mine and I was like, oh, I got to fit Becky in there. So Charlotte, Carmella, Becky, Alexa Bliss.
So here's my final four. I think it's going to be Charlotte, Becky, Ember Moon, and Nia Jax.
Good call.
And just because they love having Nia in that final four because it makes it like, oh man, she's such a brute. She's huge. She's so strong. Who's going to eliminate her, right?
Like in the 2004 Rumble, the Big Show, he was getting taken out by Redacted.
Who was that again? Toothless Aggression. Who was this guy? So
I don't know what you're speaking of. Some rabid Wolverine type character.
So prediction: who's it going to be? I think it comes down to one of two people. Really, for me, I basically am saying, and I'll just say it: it's either Charlotte or Becky, or maybe both. Maybe they both land at the same time. And of course, circa 1994, Luger Brett,
or even 2005 when Cena and Batista did it, they restarted the match after Vince blew out both of his quads.
That was a fun little moment.
I was thinking Charlotte, unless they threw us a swerve, bro.
Get off the show.
Because she's going to Mania to repeat the match, I mean, is going to be her and Asuka with the title on the opposite person this time.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's got to be Becky, because
What if Ronda throws Becky out of the match? I mean, there's a whole bunch of that could happen too, that she distracts her, right?
Yeah, there's so many variants with the Rumble, and because they switched the rules around, because like in 96, after Vader got eliminated, he threw Michaels over the top, but Michaels was allowed to go back in because Vader had already been eliminated.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people forget like little things like that.
Oh, I remember that because I remember the bump. It was huge.
Oh, big time. And then other years, you know, people get eliminated by people running in or whatever, like Kai and Tai when Taka took that face bump. And then so they bounce the rules around. There's no official ruling on that, but that's a good idea. Have Ronda come in and, you know, be like, I don't want to have to face Becky and throw her out or whatever. However,
plants the seeds as a heel too, right?
Exactly, which was perfect because Shayna can't work as a face.
No.
At this point in her career, and I don't think the other horsewomen are good enough to be able to work. They need to be able to work off whatever Ronda and Shayna are doing.
And let's be honest, the Ronda Rousey act, and I mean that with all due respect, she's caught on to the business. I know she's dedicated to it, but it's a watered down act at the moment. She comes out, she waves. It's just not her character at all. It's so misaligned with being the baddest woman on the planet.
It is, and she's only got like two emotions, either the happy waving or the angry I'm ready to fight.
Yeah.
And
where's the range?
Yeah, there's literally no in between.
Yeah.
And like she should definitely go to like an acting class or something to work on her facial expressions and everything.
I agree, especially after that promo backstage at Raw. Like, many have defended it, but that was brutal. That was not good. She was searching for her words. We've always been in that scenario. And man, I've been there too. I worked on radio for years. There's those times you almost box yourself into a corner and you're looking for these words and you hear yourself out loud trying to figure it out, but everybody else knows you're trying to figure it out. It's embarrassing.
It's horrible, and to be honest, almost all of her promos, except for like that one that she cut on Nikki Bella before Evolution, have been either watered down, clearly written by Vince, who's a 73-year-old Republican.
Succotash.
You know, he's millennials and all that. It's ridiculous. She definitely needs some range.
Sure. So we move on. And did you make your prediction? Who do you have?
I'm the same as you.
Okay.
It's either Charlotte or Becky.
Okay.
Charlotte if Becky's not in the match. If Becky's in the match, it's Becky.
I think that's us not committing to a pick, but we're still in the same area here.
Because
so that makes
so
sense.
many variables.
Yeah, there are. So
weird.
We go from that to the men's Royal Rumble match. As I noted before, but this time it's a little bit different. 30 men will enter, with the winner earning a world championship match at WrestleMania 35. So who are some of the surprise names that you predict here? I'm sure we'll have some similarities. Matt Hardy, you do believe so?
He was just cleared for action, so definitely, you know, a nice little surprise. I'm also going to say Bray Wyatt.
There you go. But by the way, the one thing I did not do was inform you that there are 20 entrants of the 30, so we have 10 spots to fill. I want to run down who we do have, because we have from Raw, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Bobby Lashley, Elias, Corbin, Mahal, Cruz, O'Neal. SmackDown, you have R-Truth, Big E, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe, Andrade, even though I'm going to say Andrade Cien Almas because screw the rules, Mustafa Ali, Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, and of course there was a John Cena, but now it looks like he's been withdrawn from this match.
First question. With all the talent on the roster, how the hell did Titus... Oh, I know why Titus O'Neil's in it, because they're going to recreate the greatest Royal Rumble match.
No, I hope not. Do you think they're actually going to do that?
Knowing WWE, having watched it for 33 years of life, yeah, they're going to do it. And it's going to be horrible, because that was such a spontaneous moment, and then they drove it into the ground. And they're probably going to do it again.
Can we also note that R-Truth is probably going to accidentally enter the Women's Royal Rumble match at 30 by mistake?
Either that or he's gonna like
Number
somehow
one.
come out at number one
And he's like,
and pull out a ladder again.
he'll go, damn, I didn't think it started here. So, yeah, but those are the individuals that are there, but we have a lot of spots left to fill. That's what I'm trying to say.
One other idea with R-Truth. He makes an entrance at NXT TakeOver.
That would be amazing. And he's like, and he goes into the ring, takes the microphone. He's like, damn, wrong day. That would be amazing. And then somebody like Triple H walks in and goes, what the hell are you doing? So
just shaking their head.
just get out of here.
Just
Ron
go.
Killings,
Just go.
Kay Quick, go home. So you already mentioned Bray Wyatt. You already mentioned Matt Hardy. Let's throw Kevin Owens in the mix.
Kevin Owens I hadn't even thought of him being fully cleared yet. But
See
Kevin
pictures of him
Owens,
too.
Same thing.
You see the picture of him? He's nice and slimmed down.
Yeah, I did. It looks like he's gotten some new tattoos on his arm as well.
Mhm.
So a different looking Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, possibilities. I want to throw a couple out here too. Lars Sullivan.
Lars Sullivan, certainly. Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle. I've heard that one too. I think, of course, in spot number 3, it's got to be EC3.
EC3 is perfect. If they're going to do the whole 10 thing with Ty Dillinger, but I think he's still out of action, definitely put EC3 in that spot. And then, of course, the big one, the big surprise.
So who do you think is going to be the big surprise here? Because I think it's going to be...
That's exactly what I was thinking.
It's going to be the Velveteen Dream, baby.
That's all I want is the Velveteen Dream in there. And I don't know who eliminates him, but that's an immediate feud starter, and it better be someone good. Also, I hope he goes to SmackDown.
Oh, so can I paint the greatest scenario that should have happened? And you're going to say, Chris, why aren't you on the writing staff? I'm not,
I'm pretty sure you and me say that back and forth to each other quite frequently.
We do, but okay, so let's say John Cena was in the match. John Cena either eliminates the Velveteen Dream or the Velveteen Dream eliminates John Cena, and then it comes into the whole "you will say my name," John Cena, and boom, that's the WrestleMania match.
You will say my name, and you can't see me. Perfect.
Book
It
it.
writes itself, people.
Book it. That's the one. But I think Velveteen Dream is the logical choice based on the fact we read that tweet earlier. He's a huge star. It would be a massive pop on the main roster.
Oh, man. So I will jump out of my seat 100% guaranteed. I don't care if I have a beer in my lap, whatever.
You know I will. I'll go crazy over here.
Oh, absolutely. It's part of the ritual if you don't go nuts. I remember when the Hardys came out at WrestleMania 33 a couple years ago. I fell on the floor. I was so excited.
It was a great moment.
I wanted broken Matt Hardy in the WWE.
Yeah. Wonderful. So, all of those you couldn't resist. All those surprises, a great Royal Rumble. What's the final 4?
This one was harder than the women's. Seth Rollins,
Mm-hmm.
Drew McIntyre.
I have both of them.
The underdog that I'm saying, well, not an underdog, under the radar guy who I think might be the Iron Man of the entire Rumble, Andrade.
Oh my God, that's who I have as in my 3rd spot as well.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think that originally I had like Randy Orton because he'll just go to the wishing well again. But I said, you know what? This will be a star-making performance for Andrade.
Yeah, the matches he's been putting on with Rey, which, by the way, you
Classics.
know how I feel about. I've gone back and forth on Rey Mysterio, but he's looking better than he has maybe since WCW right now. He is on fire and fantastic.
He is.
And then, so for the 4th spot,
Well, let's see if we share this.
Samoa Joe.
We just have the exact same 4 picks. That's amazing. So you probably I want to hear.
He did not talk about this before we went on the air.
Wow. So I think the psychology behind this, your choices, and I'm going to try and describe it and see. So Seth Rollins being, of course, like the guy who's, the odds-on favorite to win, right? You have Drew McIntyre, who's always a perennial contender, and of course the future. You have Samoa Joe, who's the aggressor. He represents SmackDown. And then you have that fresh face for the future, which is Andrade, who's impressing everybody. So you have 2 on Raw, 2 on SmackDown, right?
Absolutely. And that spot for Andrade being the fresh face, the other, I was almost going to put Mustafa Ali in that spot because they've been doing a wonderful job building him. But I feel Andrade having the mouthpiece of Zelina Vega and just, he's almost like a freaking 5-star machine.
He is.
It's unbelievable the run he's had basically since he had that match with Johnny Wrestling at TakeOver last year on this weekend.
It was
just an unbelievable run of matches, and like when he gets 10 minutes on SmackDown, he's still making you sit up and pay attention.
It's true. I became a believer of him when I saw him and Johnny Gargano take each other on, because it was last year, actually. It was Aleister Black who he took on at NXT.
No, that was at Mania weekend.
Oh, yeah, so I think it actually was, yes. So it was Johnny Gargano. That was the one that made me a big believer in him. Yeah. And then it was Aleister Black where I thought, okay, he's completely validated as a big star. So you're right, it was that Aleister Black one. And those were the 2 matches that made me a believer. So I'm totally all on board the Andrade train at this point.
Absolutely. And I think maybe Vince paying enough attention to drop the Cien Almas, probably because he can't pronounce it or something. Maybe that's a sign of faith.
Maybe.
And, I could see him having a run at the U.S. title. I think him and Rusev could have some great matches, or him and Nakamura.
Totally.
Just unbelievable matches we could see. But that I can't believe great minds think alike.
Wow, that's hilarious. And I legitimately have it here too. So now I did have, actually, beside Andrade, I said, or maybe Randy Orton, but I didn't want.
I almost put Orton in Joe's spot.
Really?
Because I knew they're, like you said, go back to the well and know what works. But I went with Joe because he needs that validation, because he keeps falling short in these big feuds, and an aggressive run. I could see. Now, this is not one you sent me, but I know you send everything over. But who do you think has the most eliminations?
I think it's Drew McIntyre.
I was going to say it's either Drew or Joe.
Yeah, those are 2 great candidates. It has to be somebody believable, obviously. And those are 2 very believable, if not the 2 most believable wrestlers on the main roster at the moment.
Yeah, like Drew McIntyre has been putting on great matches. He looks like what you would, like if you were to build a pro wrestling god in a factory, it would look like Drew McIntyre looks. The guy is in unbelievable shape. Even though he's got the accent, which turns some people off,
talks like a star.
He can cut a great promo. He's got a great finishing move that, much like the RKO, can kind of come out of nowhere. And just, I wasn't fully a believer on him until his main roster run. Like when he came back in NXT, he had a great run there, but then once he hit the main roster and he started cutting those promos more and more, I was like, damn, this guy is money.
You have to believe that Vince, Triple H, many of the upper management echelon in the back, they're looking at Drew McIntyre as a guy that they can hitch their wagon to. Because I believe, if memory serves me well, he's only about 32 years old.
Yeah, because when he was there before, he was young. So he's still got a lot of gas in the tank.
Yeah, so does anybody other than Seth Rollins win this match in your eyes? Because they don't in mine.
No, I got Rollins. Like, the only one that comes close would be Drew.
Yeah.
It's going to be a Raw guy because the last, I think, 2 years have been SmackDown.
It was Nakamura, and then who was the year prior to
Orton.
that? Yeah, it was Orton. So, okay, yeah, it was 2 SmackDown guys.
Be a Raw guy.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's going to be a Raw guy. It's going to be Seth Rollins.
Yeah, Rollins, and then we get, everyone's been talking about it for probably over a year. We're going to get, we want Rollins and Lesnar. And Rollins is the guy that dethrones Lesnar, and then gets an opportunity to really make up for that lackluster heel title run from a few years ago. Like, it started in the most glorious way ever with that cash in at WrestleMania, but then the run itself wasn't what it could have been. And
Sure.
Rollins has only gotten better and better.
That's true.
But he's a 5-star machine in many respects.
He's the workhorse, right?
Yeah, I think we talked about it on the year-end show. Basically, everything he did from that gauntlet match on Raw for the rest of the year, except for the TLC match with Ambrose, was usually the best part of Raw and the best part of the Raw side of pay-per-views. So there's no way that unless we get a screwy finish with Drew, it's got to be Rollins.
That's my pick as well. Seems like the logical one. So we are in for a treat this coming weekend, my friend. It's a pleasure to have you on the show yet again. Please enjoy NXT TakeOver and the Royal Rumble. Our paths will cross again soon.
Absolutely, and I got that wing eating contest this weekend, so
you might be dead.
I might be dead before the Royal Rumble.
You're listening to The Signature Spot with Chris Toplack.
Thanks again to my guest and dear good friend Kyle Scharf for joining me on the program. If you want to follow him on social media, head over to Twitter at Mr_Gore. I'm sure he'll be tweeting throughout the weekend. There's plenty to talk about. Plus, how about that hot wing competition? Will he survive? Will he make those wings tap out? Stay tuned, but I do believe he's up for the challenge. Next week, we'll get back to the same format, industry news and rumors, recaps of NXT TakeOver Phoenix and the Royal Rumble. I've been hearing that Bam Bam Bigelow, one of my all-time favorite big men, so agile, so underappreciated, might be one of the very first names to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame for 2019. Plus, I was just reading that Sanjay Dutt and Abyss, two longtime Impact stars, might be heading to the WWE. I'll also throw on my new AEW sweater during the next episode of The Signature Spot with Chris Toplack. And this could not be done without your ongoing support. So keep the likes coming this way. Share it. Tell your friends, family, and fellow wrestling fans to tune in on a weekly basis. And until next Thursday, and by the way, enjoy the weekend. It's going to be awesome. Happy trails to you until we meet again.
This concludes another episode of The Signature Spot with Chris Toplack. For new episodes, subscribe on YouTube, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, or iTunes. And don't forget to follow The Signature Spot on Facebook for exclusive clips, polls, and opinions.
She wasn't dead, only left her body for a